there ain't nothing wrong with having some bread. Bread is not bad. It's just that a lot of times bread is like a shuttle system for other calories.
Truly think about the foods you currently have in your cabinet at home, the things that you are overeating. Try to get rid of them.
When I tell them, hey, ditch your carbs, the next conversation is, but you get to have bacon, fattier cuts of meat.
And it's super easy to cook because you just stick it in the air fryer, go do your thing, come back, your meat is ready to eat, and it's perfect.
The excuse of not knowing how to cook meat properly and the excuse of time, it really eliminates those two things.
You should still be able to have some of the things that you love. However, for some of you, you need to make things black and white for a while. But once you get over that period of time and you trained yourself, you can now become what I would refer to as like a diet ninja. How was that bar? Stuffed it right in your mustache over there.
That's surprisingly good. That's surprisingly good. You gave it to me.
Mm-hmm.
David, 2 grams of fat, 28 grams of protein, 14 grams of carbs. It's surprising that it's 2 grams of fat because it's like, it has a little bit of it doesn't melt in your mouth like a chocolate bar does, but it melts in your mouth better than most protein bars. It actually, when you chew it, it has this like nice soft texture, which in a lot of protein bars, like Quest bars are really good, but they're chewy. You know what I mean? And they're still good though. But
they're chewy, like fibery.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some sort of fiber cornstarch thing going on in there or something.
These guys did a good job, man.
But I think that has like some allulose in it. So it has like 160 or 180 calories.
150 on this one.
Yeah, 150. It's sort of like the fake calories, you know, because it's like, you know, it's like a sugar alcohol or whatever. So you got to be careful. If you eat too many of them, you can blow it out. But they taste great. It's a good product. Good snack.
Yeah, I never even heard of them, so I'm excited to dive in.
I heard about them through Peter Itia was talking about them, and I think he's like an investor in the company, I think.
That's Itia.
And I heard Huberman talking about them as well. I was like, I'll check these things out. So I ordered some up, and they're good. I think the best one is the cookie dough. Cookie dough for the win.
Well, thank you. You gave me one of the best flavors then.
Yeah, we talk a lot about, we've talked in the past a bunch about snacks, and I actually just shot a YouTube video on snacks and showed people like a lot of snacks that I have at my house. But, I think like, a reinterpretation of the snacks that we have, I think is important. And people, because you can still have a snack, I guess somebody prepping for a bodybuilding show and they got 16 weeks and then 12 weeks and stuff. It's like, we should probably have the conversation of like, you probably really shouldn't have anything that's like an actual snack. You should probably mainly have meals. Right? That's what people in bodybuilding normally do. Could you have snacks and still figure it out? I'm sure you could. But your snacks are probably just going to look like smaller versions of meals that have the correct kind of macros for a bodybuilding show. But anyway, I think, we can learn to like swap things out, learn to trade things out. Maybe you love having like a donut in the morning, or you love having like a bagel and cream cheese. And can you change that out with something slightly healthier?
Stop being fat.
Yeah. Can you stop being so fat?
Nah. But no, you're totally right about the snack thing. And we're going to get some more stuff too. But when it does come to some snacks, I think first it's going to be a good habit to just try to stop snacking in general. Because it may be for some people, it's okay to, go the route of, okay, I'm going to get all the snacks out of my house and instead I'm going to replace them. That's good. And it's harder to binge on something like a Quest bar or a David protein bar or any of these types of foods because they still have more protein, and protein is going to make you feel fuller. So it's a better option. But I think for a lot of people, sometimes it's necessary to kind of go cold turkey so that you kind of get the habit and you get the feel of not grazing all day in terms of putting just random foods in your mouth and you feel a little bit hungry. Right? Like whenever you're a little bit hungry, you grab something, right? But that's not always good to do. Sometimes you need to, I'm not saying you need to fast all day, but sometimes you need to let yourself feel that the hunger can pass and you don't have to eat something. You don't have to put something in your mouth. And then when you're more responsible and maybe you're just used to eating meals, let's introduce some protein bars. Freaking Wild chips from Costco are really good. Have you tried those Wild chips yet?
Yeah, like
chicken breast chips, pretty much. They have different flavors like buffalo and they have chicken and waffles flavors, which is...
That's really good.
Yeah.
I've had them before.
You've had them? You've had the chicken and waffle?
I got it.
WILDE. Wild.
wild deal.
They're at Costco. The only one at Costco right now is the buffalo one. I bought like 5 bags of that. But with that, it has good macros.
Good job on the moderation.
Listen, I still have 4 bags. I don't eat a full bag at once. But the thing is like, if you want to eat chips, they have a good amount of protein, a good amount of fat, very minimal carbs. And I usually just like dip it in a little thing of guac and have a few, right? It's not like something like Doritos where you can eat a bag after bag after bag. It's a good replacement. But I think that most people would benefit from the feeling of cold turkey, eating real meals, and then going back to introducing some snacks in. Not everybody, but I know that works really well for a lot.
There they are. There's those chips.
Yeah, chicken and waffles. The ranch
awesome.
flavor is pretty damn good.
And I would say the legendary like pop chips are awesome. I think they're better than the Quest chips.
Ooh.
They're really good. They have barbecue. They got a nacho cheese. They got a bunch of different flavors. But
is that also a chicken breast thing, or is it something else?
No, that's like a whey protein, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but those are pretty delicious as well. But I agree. I think, chopping these things out is the best thing that you can do. And I, had that statement to Tom Segura. I was like, snacks are for kids. What are you, 7 years old? Like, get your shit together. And I think it's helpful to get rid of snacks. I do think that, you can still manage your body weight and you could probably still be in great shape and still eat snacks. I have them quite a bit. I have a lot of them at my house because I've found that not being surrounded by them tends to make me want to binge more towards stuff that is worse for me. Mm-hmm. So for me, I have like a bunch of it around. I got like a drawer. I can just pull the drawer out and it's got like legendary Pop-Tarts and it's got like all this shit just sitting right there. I can just grab it at any time. I found that for some weird reason, I'm more reasonable with it when it's just sitting there rather than it not being there. And then I'm like, oh man, I want to DoorDash and get some Ben & Jerry's. Okay.
Let me ask this. Do you think when you were making the first transition away from snacks, do you think you would have been as reasonable, or are you more reasonable now because of experience? Because I'm the same way now. Like now I have, dude, you guys will be proud of me. I have like 6 things of Ben & Jerry in my freezer in the garage. Real Ben & Jerry, not protein shit, right? Last night I had 3 spoonfuls, then put it back in the freezer. And that's been there actually in my freezer for a while. Like I just bought my favorite flavors because sometimes they run out, like dirt cake and gimme s'more and peanut butter s'more. So I bought
How good
3
is
of
dirt
each.
cake?
Dirt cake is it's so good. Quinn has great taste.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That is all.
Yeah.
Dirt cake is like, I think it's better than gimme s'more. But this is the thing. I wouldn't have been able to do this in the past. Those things of Ben & Jerry, I've had them in there for weeks and I don't have them every night. Like I have maybe twice a week and I'll have a few spoons. That wasn't possible in the past.
I think as we get older, we kind of think about the consequences, like for me, if I have a lot of Ben & Jerry's, I'm going to get really gassy. And then the next day I'm going to be like blowing the toilet up more than even normal. And it's just like, I hate those consequences, So when it comes to like some of these like offshoot, like quote unquote healthy snacks, they're still highly processed. A lot of times they have these fake sugars in them and weird fibers in them. And therefore it can cause your stomach to like blow up. My wife likes Hero Bread, but every once in a while she'll eat too much Hero Bread. And she's like, oh my God, I've been in the bathroom all day. Hero Bread is something they make Hawaiian rolls. And we've made, Piedmontese sliders on those things.
Oh.
Just absolutely ridiculous. Tastes so good. It's a higher fiber type of bread. And look, a lot of the stuff we're sharing with you guys today, I'm not by any means swearing these things off and saying that they're healthy because they're highly processed, highly palatable foods. But they are alternatives that could potentially help you. Again, my statement is, it's best to get rid of all these things completely and to have your diet be pretty like naked, have your diet be pretty much meat, fruit, and vegetables.
22
grams would be the best.
I'm sorry, 22 grams of fiber. So it's 23 grams of carbs, but 22 grams of fiber.
Hey now.
11 grams of protein and 4 grams of fat. Yo, it is really, honestly, man, it's really cool that there are all these options nowadays. Alternatives. Because I feel like even 5 years ago, there weren't like the amount of useful alternatives that there are now. Or maybe I just wasn't aware.
But there wasn't.
Yeah.
No, this is coming. This is like, Mark Sisson did a great job with Primal Kitchen years ago, and then he sold Primal Kitchen for quite a bit of money. And then our friend Ron Penna had a lot of success with Quest Nutrition, and he sold it for $1 billion. And that company is like on fire. And that ended up being a really good acquisition. It's like, why is it a good acquisition? Why are these things working? Well, people are turning around a lot of the drinks at the store. You'll notice when you look at beverages in the store, they're turned around to the calories on the back. People are looking at the calories, and I've seen so many things that have 150, 160 calories just left there. The things that are like more on the diet side, the things that have less calories, they're like, they're starting to, people are starting to purchase them more. So people are voting with their money, voting with their dollars for, products that are potentially a little bit healthier. Now, I'd also say this makes things even more confusing. There ain't nothing wrong with having some fucking bread. Like, bread is not bad. It's just that a lot of times bread is like a shuttle system for like a lot of other calories. If you're having a sandwich or you're eating a bacon cheeseburger or something like that, it's got, you got the cheese and the bacon and it's just a lot of calories, right? And then we're eating with like French fries or something like that.
Yeah.
And the calories really start to pile up. So those are things to be aware of.
Yeah. And on the line of what you just mentioned there, that's one of the big concepts we all try to keep in mind. We want to eat things that give us the signals to stop eating. Right? I haven't tracked since 2017 or something, but it's because I mostly eat foods that are going to send me signals to stop. So for example, I've never had this hero bun, but the fact that it has 22 grams of fiber, right? If I had that with like a patty or two, because of the fiber, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to be like, you know what, let me have another one of these, because normal buns they have a nice soft gooey texture.
Go right through them real easy.
It's gooey. It's truly like,
it encourages you to eat more.
Yeah. Like you could just, yes, it's a shuttle. Like you can just, and you don't necessarily feel as full, but this I would feel full with 22 extra grams of fiber along with the protein and fat from what I just ate. So it's like, try to eat foods that are going to give you the signals to stop eating, and try not to eat foods that you can like keep pounding down. One thing to think about, I think it's like a level of awareness that everyone needs to have, is truly think about the foods you currently have in your cabinet at home, the things that you are overeating, and try to get rid of them. And don't give yourself the excuse of the kids if you're someone who's listening that has kids, because that's not going to serve you. Like, if you're binging on this types of food, what is the benefit of your kids also having it? I mean, everyone in the house should try to be eating a little bit healthier, right? So take note of that. And don't have it at arm's length, because again, I mentioned the Ben & Jerry's, right? But years back, hell no would I be able to just have Ben & Jerry's sitting in the house. When I wanted to have it, I would eat the whole thing. Now, because I have a bit more control, I've been distanced from it for a while and it's back, I don't feel the drive towards eating a whole thing or two of them.
I think you came over my house like not too long ago. Maybe it was a while back, but we cooked up a bunch of burgers and we had some like buns. We had some regular buns, imagine that. And because we have friends over, we have different people over, and different people want to do different things with their nutrition, or some people don't care as much. But what Nsima did is something that I do all the time. And you got like 3 or 4 patties, and you had, you stacked up 2 patties on one bun, and you ate that, and then you ate the other patty or 2 that you had on your plate by itself. So it's like you ate a certain amount of carbs, you enjoyed the burger the way that you want to enjoy it, and then you also just ate the other ones because they're like extra protein, and you need X amount of calories per day because you're a savage. But, I think if we can kind of just be like, the idea of be less fat is that right there. It's like, let's make moves and let's do things that are just small changes, small swaps. We're not asking you to like break your TV and never watch it again. We're not asking you to never have a chip again. We're not asking you to never have Ben & Jerry's again. We recognize those are all like ludicrous things that just don't make any sense. You should still be able to have some of the things that you love and some of the things that you enjoy. However, for some of you, you need to make things black and white for a while. And you might need to make things kind of difficult for a little while. But once you get over that period of time and you trained yourself, you can now become what I would refer to as like a diet ninja, and you can sort of fit in and blend in any, you can be a diet chameleon, and you can blend in with any background that there is. Doesn't matter what somebody cooked, doesn't matter what somebody made. You could be prepared at all times. Something even like Chinese food, which is like almost impossible to try to figure out how to eat something like healthy when there's Chinese food. But if you did what I do and what some of us do, if you ate before you went to this party or event or Chinese restaurant or whatever it is, then you could choose to still enjoy the food, but maybe you don't eat as much because maybe you had an awesome steak before you left the house.
Yeah, I wanted to go back. So like you were talking about Primal Kitchen, because I saw a lot of people freaking out about it, but the Mexican-owned company Siete sold to PepsiCo or whatever the fuck it's called. So again, another like Primal Kitchen craft situation where people are like, no, like they're going to ruin it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, hopefully they don't. They might use the logo to make some BS or whatever, but again, everybody's been voting with their dollar and it's making a difference to the point where this gigantic company like Pepsi now has to, not has to, but they showed interest in, they purchased a whole company to that. So then they can start, producing the same thing.
Is it like a healthier chip or something? Or?
So they got chips. They started with tortillas. So like that was their main thing. They just wanted to make them gluten-free, but make them taste good. And then eventually started making chips. They make these like cinnamon ones. They're so damn good. They make a nacho cheese one or whatever. They're freaking incredible. And then there's this other company, Simple Mills. They sell those at Costco. They make like a cracker type thing, and they make another like graham cracker type thing. So I know we were just talking about like all the snacks and stuff. For me, it was the thing about finding like protein rich, low calorie, don't care what's in it as long as the macros are good. And I would, it helped me with my physique and everything, and it helped me feel better. But now what I started leaning into is just like really paying attention to the ingredients. So like if something is like super high in whether it's artificial sweeteners, and I know when somebody says seed oils, you have two camps. You have the camp that says like, yep, they're going to murder you or whatever. And the other camp that says you're an idiot for thinking that they do anything. When I remove them from my diet, I seem to be less gassy and I kind of feel better.
Happy tummy.
So I started leaning more towards the happy tummy, and physique wise, I've been feeling good because now I have a little bit more energy. And so the question that I want to pose to you guys is when it comes to snacks, lately what I found is like if I'm feeling a little sluggish, I might just have, now again, my diet's pretty plain right now, but if I want to have a little party, I'll have a plain rice cake with some peanut butter.
Usually special peanut butter.
Yes. It's 2 ingredients. Okay. It's almonds and salt. That's all it is. Little.
That's almond butter, buddy.
Or sorry, peanuts. My bad. Because we have the almond one as well, but I have the peanut butter one. My bad.
Okay.
And I'm looking in the fridge and I see the almond one in the front. That's why. That with the little bit of local honey. And that's like the most amazing thing I've ever had.
That actually sounds really good.
So good.
Yeah.
I have that. I'm no longer feeling sluggish. Right. And it wasn't even so much that like I needed food. I just felt a little tired. There are times when I'm like, oh man, I'm kind of hungry. And if I'm hungry and I go for that, I'm just going to be more hungry. So how do you guys coach somebody on whether or not they actually truly need that snack, or it's like a mental thing, it's a boredom thing?
Man, I think that's a tough thing sometimes, but I think that what we get from food, we get such a cascade of like so many things going on. Food works really well. It does give you like dopamine and serotonin. You get a good crunch. And when you're thinking about, rice cake, like people might think, oh, rice cakes are kind of gross, but rice cake with peanut butter and honey on it is kind of great. Anything with peanut butter and honey on it is going to be amazing. I think just some people need to be careful with that. Like if somebody is trying to really control and manage their weight, it's going to be just harder for them to do it with snacks in there because they're not going to, you kind of have shown yourself consistently that you don't know how to behave properly when it comes to like being reasonable, right? And so you're not going to be reasonable. And so the only way to help you be more obedient is to probably box you in a bit and to make some really hard, fast rules that are very simple. And that's why I often tell people just to ditch carbs. Because if you ditch carbs, it's like, what options do you start to have for snacks? Now you could go with like keto bombs and fat bombs, and you could start to go all this weird route. But if you're eating natural foods and you get rid of carbohydrates, I think it's a good move. I know Dr. Mike Israetel did a video on this recently, but I think that so many people, I know that Mike is well aware of where people are in the United States. I know he's well aware that there's people that are heavy, there's people that are obese. But I think that the way that you talk to the fitness community is quite a bit different than the way that you're going to talk to somebody who's really struggled with their weight for a long time. I've found that most people that I know, and this could be different for some other folks, but when I tell them, hey, ditch your carbs, the next conversation is, but you get to have bacon. You get to have cheese. You get to have fattier cuts of meat. And a lot of people that I know actually like those foods. They like having an omelet. They like having bacon. They like having some of these fattier foods. So the departure from some of the carbohydrates isn't as bad for some of those people.
Yeah. I think also, first off, a little side note, it's actually kind of funny. You and Sam are kind of similar. Sam's like fucking snack, right? Is a rice cake. She'll have like 8 chocolate chips that she'll like press down on it, get a little warm, and then press the chocolate chips down.
Oh, she heats them up?
She heats them up just a little bit, literally like 5 seconds, so that she can do the press down on all the chocolate chips on the rice cake, along with a little bit of almond butter.
The chocolate chip one ain't bad. The Quaker.
Oh, yeah.
But they got stuff in it, though.
Yeah, and there's like more fat.
The plain one is just rice.
Yeah. But one thing I think it would be super helpful for people is, Andrew, I think one thing that's happened to you over the years, and it's happened to all of us, is the reorganization of our palate, right? In terms of the things that we find enjoyable to eat. Because it's kind of funny. We've talked to Stan Efferding. And what was it that Stan Efferding
Strawberries.
Like, whoa, strawberries and what? What was it?
Strawberries.
He's like, when I have a treat, it's strawberries and it's something with this. Is it just strawberries?
It's just strawberries.
See, Stan has
might have been some whipped cream or something.
I think it was just strawberries.
See, Stan has that elite, healthy freaking palate. But the truth is, strawberries are amazing. Fruit is amazing.
It'll taste better to you when you get used to natural foods.
Exactly. Whereas initially, when you start having that type of stuff, it's kind of boring. But like for me, I don't have breakfast every morning, but like this morning, I was like, I need to eat something before I get over here. I was feeling kind of tired. So I was like, okay, let me have like 6 boiled eggs, put 2 packs of sardines on top of it. I have a little bit of hot sauce and a little bit of like chili sauce I'll put on top of it, and some, kimchi and stuff. But I eat that. It tastes really good. Now, I'm pretty sure I would have actually found that to be tasty years ago too, but it's just something that I wasn't eating as often because it's not something that I reached for. I'd reach for something else. I'd reach for something quicker. I'd reach for something carby, right? And for me, when I eat carbs, I usually have them towards the evening, just because they tend to help me feel a little bit carbs, I'm sleepy, right? So I think having some, like you mentioned, Mark, bacon, etc., having some protein snacks, something that you can just put in a bowl. And one thing I do, Andrew, I know you're not going to like this one, but at Costco, they have packs of boiled eggs in packages, and I'll just literally just cut that open, put it in a bowl, put the sardines on top, warm it up, right, and eat it, right? And it's fast because I don't want to sometimes spend the time. I have other eggs in my fridge, but I don't want to always spend the time having to prepare it. I want something that literally the next 3 minutes, food is in my mouth.
Then you don't have to take it out the shell.
Right? Like you gotta let it cool down
egg.
and then do this thing. It's like, fuck.
I know a lot of people might not like fish, but I love tinned fish, and it's just, and there's chicken and stuff in cans and all that shit too. But I love oysters and mussels and just all these different things. And they're just quick and easy. Just boom, you pop. A lot of times has a top that you can just pull right off, quick and easy. I think there's a big difference between like snacks in the traditional way. So we have to always kind of be careful of who we're talking to, because we talk to most people. If you were to say, "Hey, what's your favorite snack?" they would insert some junk food, right?
Oreos.
Yeah, if you're talking to someone that's in fitness, they'd be like, "I love rice cakes,
eggs and sardines,"
or they might be like, "Oh, I love
microwave too.
I love fruit and yogurt."
It's gotta smell great.
Actually, no, like I only warm it up for 90 seconds because longer than that it explodes.
What are those sticky?
Oh yeah, you're not
sticky?
supposed to. Sorry, Mark, you're not supposed to microwave hard-boiled eggs.
90 seconds, man. I've made the mistake of going like 100, right?
It's like a fucking grenade.
It is a grid. Literally, that's why I found the perfect amount of time to warm up 6 to 8 eggs. 90 seconds in my microwave, it won't explode.
There's like sticky rice cakes too. You ever have those, like rice cake roll?
Oh yeah,
those are pretty dope.
They got a little extra oomph to them though, so that a little bit of unwanted ingredients and calories for me.
Oh, is there a little weird something in there?
They're rice rollers.
Rice rollers. Those are pretty dope.
They to me they taste like those Sugar Smacks cereal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can sometimes find some of this stuff too that's like a little extra hippy dippy that has like less whatever in them, but it's hard.
Those are good.
Something that's like a bit. Again, another Costco find. I don't know if you guys have had it, but they have these nut clusters. It's like cashew, pumpkin seed.
Yeah, those are
those are fire.
You got to be careful.
You have to be careful with those. That's not a safe snack.
That's a texture thing for me though. Like, yeah, they're covered with chocolate, right? Or
they're not covered with chocolate.
Okay, never mind.
Like a honey or something, or
honey.
Same thing. Yeah,
that's not a safe snack.
No,
that shit's dangerous. But if we're being real though. It is a healthier snack than the typical shit, right? It's at least full ingredients, has a bit of sugar, but it's nuts. You can go crazy with nuts though. So it's not something that if you're a beginner with this shit, you want to start off. I'm just being real.
That's at least a purple belt level. At least.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, it's easy to go back and forth on this kind of stuff so much. But like, again, if you're trying to get your shit together and you're trying to be in good shape, it's nice to know that some of these options are out there and that you could purchase it here and there. Something that you might want to try to do is just, buy stuff and let it run out and then don't purchase it again for a little bit. Buy it, have it in the house, eat it, consume it, get rid of it, don't have it for a while, and then go back to it. Like I'll do that every once in a while with cream, like heavy cream. Like, it's fucking awesome to throw heavy cream into a shake. But I don't want to throw heavy cream in the shake year round all the time. It's going to make me fat. But it's delicious, So I'll buy some sometimes. I'll use it. I'll go through it. And then it's not there again for a little while.
Yeah. I do that with honey, but I do it for a couple different reasons. But same thing. I kind of put that in almost anything. I make an excuse to just throw that in there as well. But like,
are you getting into eating the honeycomb too? Have you done that?
I don't like. No, I wasn't.
It's wild.
A fan.
It's like you're chewing on like a little waxy.
I was gonna say it turns into a candle, and then you're like, "What do I do with this extra stuff?"
What do you mean?
It just turns into a candle. Like it's just wax.
Yeah, you're just chewing on it forever. I don't know. Like
I'm not swallowing. Like
what's supposed to happen with
that
it
out?
But so you kind of chew on it forever.
It's just the honeycomb Nsima. So like the actual like comb, you chew on the whole thing. You get the honey out. But then once the honey runs out, you're left with just some wax.
You know how good the fruit stand is? That's right here in Davis. You ever been there?
I want to, every day I go home, I want to stop, but I'm
it's like
stuck,
right by Target.
I'm like stuck in so much traffic. Oh, the one right here.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the one in the middle of the causeway.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah, I got to check this one out.
That other one's harder to get to.
There's so much traffic.
Yeah, the one that's over by Target, though, that's not that bad to get to. Aikitas, I think it's called. It is amazing. You'll find like all the cool like honey and peanut butter.
Oh, yeah, they do have some cool stuff there. Yeah, I've been there before.
Yeah,
they have some really nice fruit there. You're trying to get healthier and you're probably eating chicken for every meal or the same beef cuts for every meal. And trust me, I know how good some cuts can be. You can make anything taste good. But Good Life Protein is the place that you want to go if you want to start adding some different types of meats into your rotation. They got picanha, they got chorizo sausage, which is still great on the macros because they're using Piedmontese beef. They have lobster, they have all different types of fish. They have actually a bunch of different types of chicken too. They have lamb. I'm telling you, if you give it Good Life a shot and try some of their different meats, which are still great on the macros, you'll start to appreciate the things that you can get from different meat. Don't think too hard about that one. But check out Good Life because we're sure that you're going to love the taste and the quality. And it's good for your health. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at goodlifeproteins.com. And at checkout, enter promo code POWER to save 20% off your entire order. Or if you want to save even more, use promo code POWERPROJECT to save an additional 5% off your build box. Again, goodlifeproteins.com. Link is in the description as well as the podcast show notes. You guys ever just have a straight date?
Yeah.
I'm like, how come nobody knows about these?
Yeah, no one told me anything about no date.
Nobody, like, who's hiding this information?
No,
because dates are like the most incredible thing ever.
That's why people need to get into fruits more.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get a lot of people are carnivores, but get some fruits in your diet.
I don't even know what a date is. Is it a fruit?
Yeah,
it
of course.
has to be a fruit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fuck, I don't know.
Let's type this in on Google.
I barely had a blackberry the other day, right? So like I'm still learning this shit.
Yeah, dates are really good. I think some people were like, oh, they got crazy amounts of sugar in them, but they've kind of found that most of these items that are natural, they usually have other things in them to help you with the diet, with the digestion. Like same thing with honey, and same thing with maple syrup, and all these things. They usually have other cofactors in them that help you regulate the blood glucose.
They're like an incandescent light bulb. It's got the other things that protect you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You do want, like, dates probably good. They have quite a bit of, like, okay, per serving, okay, 1 cup of dates chopped, 110 carbs, but 964 milligrams of potassium, which is pretty fucking awesome. That's
For an entire cup?
a cup of dates.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of potassium.
I would never have a full cup.
Dude, if you throw dates
shit.
into like a fruit bowl, oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like I make a fruit bowl with like so I usually use blueberries, and I use so raspberries are amazing because if you sort of like whip raspberries into like yogurt or cottage cheese, it just becomes like a jam. And so that's a cool hack. And I take this is the Whey vanilla protein powder, dump that in there. And then I have the blueberries, and then I'll have some dates in there, and I'll put some honey on it. It's just like, it kind of reminds me of just being like a fat kid, like just diving in and eating like brown sugar. Because kind of that's what it becomes at that point. But I love that.
But that's healthy as fuck. I mean,
it's
healthy.
delicious.
You know, I'm trying to make a concerted effort to curse less because I've realized that I can sometimes have a potty mouth.
You're a vulgar, disgusting human.
Yeah, I'm trying.
It's all that gangster rap.
Oh, the gangster rap. But dude, that's a super healthy thing, super easy to make, and it's actually a good snack. So right, like Greek yogurt or a cottage cheese and fruits, etc. And you have some protein in there also. Tastes amazing, gets you your fill. You feel like a fat kid. You feel like you gotten your fill, and bam, you're good. Right? Yeah. These are easy things you could do. And let's not forget about shakes and protein shakes, because whether you're bulking or whether you're trying to eat less, we've mentioned having protein first. So like for me, when I feel hungry, it'll either be like, let me grab some eggs and let me just grab protein in general. I forgot to also mention I had a little bit of rib with my breakfast this morning. So it was eggs, sardines, and rib and kimchi.
Was that just because it was like leftover?
Yeah.
I do that all the time too. Like I have some leftover buffalo wings that I'm thinking about today. I'm like, because I had some last night.
You're thinking about.
Yeah, I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, I should throw that in with some eggs. But I was like, I don't have time.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, this stuff, like
leftover rib. Just chewing on a single rib in his kitchen, being like, looking at the clock, be like, I gotta get going, and just chomping on that rib.
That's truly how it was this morning. But again, the big concept is eating stuff that is good, but will actually help you feel full. Like I really try to stay away from things that I know that I can, because I can still put it down like I used to. Don't get me wrong. If I ate the wrong things, I could put it down with anybody else. I hold that pride very high, but I don't do that.
Could you be like in an eating competition, you think?
Those little people are sneaky. Like,
work your way onto that professional level, maybe?
I think I could progressively overload to it, but I think I'd need some training first. Because you see those skinny people where they're like, and then they're going for like an hour, just scarfing.
Could make for a good YouTube video.
It could, but then I'd be 265. I think that
could be a good video.
Yeah.
I turned 265 again.
And had a heart attack. Great.
No, and avoided a heart attack. Right?
All the cholesterol helping you out.
Oh, Lord.
The approach to that, though, I think is the opposite, is you live in a caloric deficit for like 6 months, and then you'll never be able to get full until you get like edema. But before that, you will not get full.
That's what they do?
No, that's what I do.
That's not exactly what they do.
I'm just saying that because like I've experienced that. So
oh my God.
It's pretty incredible.
Oh, let's quickly talk about this. What stuff? Because you mentioned yogurt. I think like more people are talking about it, but gut stuff, right? So like I love kimchi. There's also this from the same company. It's this radish thing. It's like kimchi-ish, but it's radishes instead. I've been drinking a lot of kefir.
Yep. I love that too.
Kefir's good. I'll just, my girl doesn't really drink it much, so I'll just go to the bottle, drink a bunch of it a little bit before bed. Yeah.
I love that
What
shit.
else?
What is kefir? What like is it just like a
Fermented milk.
Milk? Okay, I wasn't sure. Got it.
It
Just
tastes a little sour, but it
let
tastes
your
great.
milk go bad. It'll be perfect for you.
Wait, actually, like, do
That's
people do
amazing.
that?
I don't
'Cause
think
that
you
shit's
What do we
nasty.
do with all this spoiled milk? Let's just call it something fancy and
Yeah.
then put a higher price tag on it.
I don't think you can do that with. I don't think that would be wise to do that with regular milk. But, and some people might think it's even less wise to do it with raw milk. But I think if you were to do it with a milk, you would do it with a raw milk because raw milk. I don't know. It's weird, but I think raw milk would probably work. But anyway, kefir is awesome. Yogurt, cottage cheese, like I love all those things. In terms of like fermented foods, I love fermented anything like fermented pickles, fermented vegetables, fermented onions, fermented eggs. Like man, I love all that shit. Really, really good.
Yeah.
So wherever I can find it, I found some fermented, like in a jar, fermented quail eggs. They were just like these little tiny eggs.
I had those too in Missouri.
They're fucking
amazing.
ridiculous. They were so good. I was like, I'll just buy this and see what it's like. And it was awesome.
Yeah, those are really good.
Yeah.
I got nothing as far as fermented stuff.
There's a
mess with
company that makes fermented kimchi pickles. The problem is there's not enough in there. So you buy it and it's like $5-6, maybe $6 or $7. And it's just you just rifle right through it. You're like, oh man, I wish it had more in there.
I've had that.
What's that brand?
Cleveland Kitchen.
Yeah, those are amazing.
Yeah, they're good. They're just not
Dude, you
bad.
throw those on like I don't know, throw them on some ground beef or so. I mean, you could put it on anything. It's so good.
And exactly what you just said right there is like my sister, she, I was trying to tell her like, you need to get some of this kimchi and stuff in your life. And she hates the taste. So I was just like, yeah, stick it on top of some meat. Just try to like put it on top of something you like. And then as she did that, she's like, okay, you know what? This really isn't that bad. But it's good for your gut. And having a bit of diversity in there is going to be like, it's not specifically calorie related, but it's health related. So it's a good thing to
Go
have
to
that.
the refrigerated section in the grocery store, and that's where you want to buy like your hot sauces and your fermented stuff. If they have hot sauces in there, you'll find them. They'll have like probiotics and stuff. They'll be pretty damn spicy, but I love all that stuff.
Okay.
Huge fan. I can't handle like crazy spicy like some people can, but I love the spicy shit.
What I like about like what you said about like adding the thing to something else that you already like is that she'll probably get to a point where if she has like a hamburger patty without it, she'd be like, this is lacking so much, right? Like, so I need to do stuff like that.
Kimchi burgers are fucking good.
Really? Oh man.
Oh, freaking.
Or just
They're
get some
really good.
pickles. Do you like pickles?
Yeah, I love pickles.
Get some fermented pickles. You got to like the jarred pickles that are on the shelf in the grocery store that aren't in the refrigerator. Those are pickled and they're not fermented. You want to get the fermented ones that are in the refrigerated section.
Bubbies or
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't been able to find them. So, but I also
Got to search around.
I go to kind of shitty stores. So
Bubbies.
yeah. So outside of that, right? Because if you told like whatever the main thing that's like not in your traditional shopping list, right? You're like, hey, try this, fermented this or that. What are some other ways that you can implement these things into someone's diet who doesn't have the palate that's quite ready for it yet?
Maybe they can try some kombucha. There's like a lot of different versions of that. So and maybe at first they don't like it, but again, there's so many different brands, so many different companies. I would pay attention to how much calories are in some of those because sometimes they have a lot, but a lot of times some of them only have like 30 calories, 70 calories, 90 calories, stuff like that.
Be mindful about the kombucha too sometimes though, because some of them have caffeine that you wouldn't expect.
Oh yeah.
It was a few years ago and I was like, I was on a little kombucha kick and I looked at it and I was like, this has caffeine. I'm drinking this at 9 p.m. I'm like, this isn't good for me, right? So just be mindful of that when it comes to the kombucha. I'm curious what you guys think about this though, because like, I guess I'm kind of lucky. My mom like made me drink green juice when I was a kid. And very quickly, I was just like, well, this is good for me. So it doesn't taste great, but I know it's going to have a good effect. Let me just down it. And then I just started to learn to like it, even though it tastes horrible. So, I think there's one thing when you're an adult, when you know there's something that's good for you, I wonder, maybe because I can only have my own experience with my own palate, but I just make myself swallow things down until I learn to like it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
cleanse that.
You're gonna like that.
You like it.
Eric, try stuffing this down your throat.
Nice try, Diddy.
But let me nah.
All right, edit the podcast. Start over.
Oh man, that man was such a predator, yo. Oh
Did you see the
God.
clip? It was him and Mace in a music video, and Diddy's just smiling, looking at his ass. It's so good.
Did you see the one of Diddy in the dunk contest?
Yeah, I said that to you.
You said that to me.
We were talking about how he gets on his toes.
So Diddy was, you know, when
Oh my
sometimes they
God.
put the ball up for the dunk contest. I don't know if Andrew's gonna
Oh
find it.
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
think
then-
Andrew sent it to both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, when the guy jumps over, Diddy kind of goes up to sniff his balls a little bit. He's just like,
He's like, this is gonna be great.
that man was horrible, man. So I mean, I don't know. I wonder how crazy are people's palates? It's like, because some people are like, I hate sardines, but how much do you hate sardines? Is it just because they're a little bit oily? Is it because like you didn't like sardines for a while,
Right.
but you eat them a little bit, right?
Yeah, I went through a phase where I had at least one of those cans a day, and then you just fall off, and then just I need to go back. As we're having this conversation, I was thinking about that the whole time. For me, yes, it's just a lifetime of being like, I don't like fish.
Okay.
Right? Like just when you write something off, you write it off, and you don't actually really know why you did it. Because I don't like the fishy smell, because I've had ribs back in the day that had a weird smell, and it just reminded me that because they smelled like fish, so then you just have this association with a fishy smell.
Did those ribs give you food poisoning?
I took one bite and I was like, oh, these are spoiled. And my dad yelled at me because he's like, just eat your food. I'm like, and so he was like, they're not spoiled, and he ate them, and he got super sick. So he was like, we like revisited that like several years later, and then he's just like, yeah, I shouldn't have. He's like, I was trying to make a point though. And I'm like, hey, dude, I get it. Parenting. But so yeah, you associate this spoiled food with the smell.
He's eating them. He's like,
He's
you're
struggling.
gonna eat what we bought.
Yeah.
It's like
Payback,
spewing out of his fingers.
Yeah. Men are so funny, dude. Just because he didn't want to fucking drop his ego because he's yelling at his son.
He didn't want to like throw it out and be like, son, let's order some pizza. You're right.
Yeah.
He didn't like,
He
hell
didn't
yeah,
want to-
Dad,
he
that'd be
just
great.
couldn't admit he couldn't
So
fucking
much
he couldn't
pride.
tap. Yeah, too much pride.
That's great.
Fast forward to learning all the stuff that we've been talking about, DHA, all that stuff. And so it was that thing where I'm like, I'm going to eat it because it's good for me. And it's like, okay, this actually isn't that bad. But then I started just putting just like 1 or 2 drops of lemon essential oils, and it totally converts the entire thing away from any kind of fishiness to like, not like chicken, but better. Like it's really, really good. And I don't need to mix it with anything. Like I thought about like, oh, maybe I'll do rice the way you've explained it. And I'm like, nah, I just want to make this really easy and convenient. Let me just put a couple of drops in here and then eat it that way. So for me, it was just the association with almost the way people think that healthy food is gross, right? We know that to be completely incorrect. But when you think of what the normal everyday person that's not listening to this show is like, oh, healthy food just means like broccoli and, salads and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of associated fish. Is just like, oh, this is just gross no matter what. You see like squid and you're like, yeah, I'm never eating that. But it's like, hey, okay, how about some sardines that look nothing like that and are actually really tasty? So made that mind switch. And then now actually, I made it a point, like I said, to have 1 can every day. Instead of like a snack or whatever, I just like, yep, it's about, 1 o'clock. Let me just go have this, can of sardines. And I felt good.
I think that's the way everyone needs to look at everything. Everything in health needs to be looked at the way that you're looking at the fish. You're like, all right, I gotta like kind of like not that you have to eat it because that's like too much of a bummer to like be in a position where you're doing a bunch of things that you don't like. But hey, it'd be a great idea for me to get outside this morning and see the sun. Hey, it'd be a great idea for me to get outside and watch the sun set. It would be a good idea if I brushed up against a little bit of strength training today. It'd be a good idea if I, kind of swallow the frog type of thing, right? You just go and you do it. But if you look at everything as like a nutrient, rope flow is like a nutrient. Lifting is a nutrient. Each thing is like, and let's gather a bunch of nutrients every single day. And we don't need to gather all of the correct nutrients every single day, but let's try to gather all the correct nutrients in terms of our mobility, our speed, our stamina, blah, blah, blah. Grab all that together, maybe for the week or maybe even just for the month. Like, because even trying to land everything in 1 week is not always easy. So if you kind of just think about, let me just keep kind of circling the wagon over and over again and keep making sure that I'm giving myself or getting close to some of these nutrients and getting close to some of these opportunities to grow and expand, you're going to continue to grow and expand. And things don't have to be such a drag. You know, how many times we hear people say, like, I didn't really want to do it today, but I did it. And you know, I just kind of, I really despise that, man. I hate hearing that. I'm like, what the fuck? Why did you do it? Like, just don't do it. I don't care. I don't want to. I think I saw Tim Tebow post that the other day, he was, like, doing some squats. And then there he is, like, hammering out some squats with like 315 or something like that. And I'm like, just why, man? You don't have to squat, like, you don't have to barbell squat. You could have just called it audible. You could have went to the gym and said, Omaha, and then just fucking did a belt squat or something. Yeah. Or you could have made the workout more enjoyable. You could have said, I'm just gonna go outside and chuck a football around today instead, you know? And
that's what the greats do though, man.
Man, I hate seeing it just makes me crazy when I see that all the time. I understand, I get it, because people are trying to get on the other side of like the mindset deal, and they're trying to, you know, pull stuff out of them. So I can understand it. They have a program they're following. But man, I don't like those programs. I think you should flush them down the toilet.
Yeah. What you're saying right there, though, like people, we all need to be taught, whether it's from a coach or whatever, just how to call an audible and other options. Because I think sometimes, you know, I don't know about Tim's situation, but when somebody's looking at a program and they see that everyone's doing this, and then they're like, I have to do it too. And they're like, this is what the greats do. This is what the people that have big legs, blah, blah, blah. This is what they all do. And even though it doesn't feel great, they just know, they don't realize that they don't have to do it. It's tough. Yeah. It's tough because you feel like that's the only, that like, if you don't do it, you're now weak or you're not making progress. That's just not true.
Right. Yeah. You feel like you're lesser than. You feel like you,
pointing at you.
You didn't complete the mission for today. We were talking a little earlier about like the foods that we have in the house, and kind of, you know, people sort of blame their kids, like, oh, my kids. I just think that that's lazy. I think having prepackaged stuff for your kids and just pawning that off onto them, I think is a lazy and very unfortunate habit. I think it's the same as not paying attention to how much time your kid is spending on their tablet, how much time your kid is spending in their room, how much time your kid is spending doing anything that you think ultimately just isn't great. You think that maybe potentially, you know, when I was a kid, it's like, you know, my parents didn't want me to watch too much TV, right? Like we didn't have all the same things, but video games and stuff were there. And so like we had, you know, some of that, and I would get all the same conversations that you hear now happen then, just with different stuff. But fortunately for me, you know, I had friends on my block, and like we played football and we're outside a bunch. So it wasn't as big of a deal. But I think the idea that like your kids, you know, because you have kids, you have to have a bunch of highly processed junk in the house. Again, I think it's lazy. I don't expect everyone to like go to some crazy degree and to meal prep everything and to always have fresh food and like, oh, I chopped up these apples, and like that's probably not reasonable either. People have to make a living. There's a lot of other things to do. Nowadays, there's, you know, 2-income household, so there's not always like one person waiting hand and foot to like serve the kids the right foods and nutrients and everything like that. But you could teach your kids about nutrition. You could teach your kids how to cook. You could say, hey, did you really enjoy that? Hey, next time I want to show you like how to prepare that, how to cook that. You like those eggs a lot? Like what age can you do that at? 8, 9, 11? Like, you know, different kids are going to pick up things at different ages, but you could probably teach them how to at least partially take care of themselves with some stuff, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, right. I don't know what the age is, but I do know adults that can't like make a decent like breakfast, right? Like, so I don't know. You can't really be too young, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Quinn's 17, and she just the other day, she's like, I really love those bavettes. She loves the steak that we have. And then Andy cooked it up for her a couple times, and she's like, how do I cook those up? So then now she knows how to cook them up.
That's great.
Jake started much earlier. Jake started like, I don't know, like 10 or 11, started cooking up his own eggs and stuff like that. And he does that like he's almost like a 80-year-old man. Like he just does the same habit every day. You just watch
Same
it.
eggs.
Yeah, he does the same thing every day, like all the time. It's kind of amazing to watch.
One thing I'll say, and I think we've talked about air fryers on the podcast, but the experience, my sister's lost about 60 something pounds, right? In terms of like she's minimized, stopped eating carbohydrates, and she's lost that weight rather effortlessly because of the food choices she's been making, but she learned how to use an air fryer, and that's been a hack because I think one thing that a lot of people do is when they do cook meat, they use a lot of oil. And when you think about the amount of oil that a lot of people use when they pan fry meat, etc., it's a lot of extra calories that you use to try to make this thing tasty. But when you put ground beef in an air fryer, season it, put it in, put fish in an air fryer, season it, put it in, steak, whatever, you're getting this tasty meat cooked perfectly, but at the same time, it doesn't have as many calories as the meat that you typically make, whether it's chicken, whether it's, chicken wings, all these things, it has way less calories, and it's super easy to cook because you just stick it in the air fryer, go do your thing, come back, your meat is ready to eat, and it's perfect. And air fryers aren't necessarily expensive. But when it comes to cooking the meat, because meat is going to be a big protein source for you, right? I cook my ribs in an air fryer and they end up perfect. Like it's one of those things that it makes this type of food and it makes preparing it an extremely just easy process.
You can cut a steak out of a frozen package and stuff it in the fucking air fryer and it comes out perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to come out a little better if you had some time beforehand to have the meat out and have it defrost a little bit better. But it comes out great, and like we just to have that ability to be able to do that is awesome to help people like stay on point because sometimes you forget, right? And you're like, oh, I should just stop and like get some in and out. You try any excuse to like go the wrong way. You're going to make the excuse to go the wrong way. But now if you have an air fryer and you just simply have some meat that's in your freezer, you can cook it up right away.
And honestly, for her, that was one of the reasons why she was having such a problem because she's like, I'm trying to cook all this meat and it's so difficult to cook, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, you guys have an air fryer. She's like, I don't know how to use it. Just show her how to use it real quick. Bam. It just started happening.
Game changer.
Literally, it changed the trajectory using an air fryer to cook meat. I take it for granted because I've been doing that for years and it's so easy that I'm just like, everyone doesn't know about this. But there's a lot of people that don't know about air fryers, man.
Yeah, the excuse of not knowing how to cook meat properly and the excuse of time, like it really, really eliminates those two things,
Absolutely.
right? And then that's when you get like, oh, but Teflon and nonstick. It's like, well, it's a little bit better than like fast food, like which you don't really scoff at all.
I put my shit on top of parchment paper in my air fryer.
Oh, really?
So
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. I use parchment paper and it doesn't stick on anything. It just
I don't know if parchment has plastic liner on it.
I don't know. I don't know.
Which is another thing.
Probably.
I would assume so. But anyway, it's still healthier than going through the drive-through.
If you're someone that's taking supplements or vitamins or anything to help move the needle in terms of your health, how do you know you really need them? And the reason why I'm asking you, how do you know, is because many people don't know their levels of their testosterone, their vitamin D, all these other labs like their thyroid, and they're taking these supplements to help them function at peak performance. But that's why we've partnered with Merrick Health for such a long time now, because you can get yourself different lab panels like the Power Project panel, which is a comprehensive set of labs to help you figure out what your different levels are. And when you do figure out what your levels are, you'll be able to work with a patient care coordinator that will give you suggestions as far as nutrition optimization, supplementation, or if you're someone who's a candidate and it's necessary, hormonal optimization to help move you in the right direction so you're not playing guesswork with your body. Also, if you've already gotten your lab work done, but you just want to get a checkup, we also have a checkup panel that's made so that you can check up and make sure that everything is moving in the right direction if you've already gotten comprehensive lab work done. This is something super important that I've done for myself. I've had my mom work with Merrick. We've all worked with Merrick just to make sure that we're all moving in the right direction and we're not playing guesswork with our body. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at merrickhealth.com/powerproject. And at checkout, enter promo code POWERPROJECT to save 10% off any one of these panels or any lab on the entire website. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Did you guys, on this conversation, did you want to address the really big elephant in the room, and that is tracking your food? Or do we want to leave that for another conversation?
No, I think we can touch upon it for sure. I think, not only tracking, but also like meal prep. Again, tracking, meal prep. If you're going to step on stage and you're going to be responsible to have a certain particular look, and you're somebody that coaches somebody, or you're, someone that is actually getting on stage, maybe you do want to pay attention to those things. Maybe being super diligent with those things is going to be really important. But I found for myself to be able to stay in good shape that I don't need to do any of that. I guess I would be like, I'd be making a mistake to say that I don't track at all, because while I'm not using a calculator, or I'm not using MyFitnessPal, I'm not using like an app or anything like that, I'm still paying attention to what I'm eating. I have like the Piedmontese steaks. Those are very lean. I choose to eat some leaner sources of protein most of the time, but I'm also paying attention. I can't just eat the leaner sources, because I'm going to lose weight too fast. My hormones are going to get all out of whack. I need certain fat calories to do certain things. And so I am paying attention to, I had, potato earlier today. I don't really need the rice with this meal. So I'm sort of, I guess, like auto-regulating and tracking simultaneously, but I don't write anything down. And I don't do traditional meal prep. I'm not like, I'm cooking everything on Sunday. However, most of the time, if I'm going to cook ground beef, I'll cook up like a couple pounds of it, because I don't know if anybody else in the family wants it. And so I'll cook up a bunch of it. Sometimes I might hammer all of it. Sometimes Jake will have some of it, and so on. And sometimes some of it ends up in the fridge. And so therefore it's kind of like pre-prepped. We have chickens, and so we have a lot of eggs. And so we're always trying to figure out what to do with our eggs. And so we hard-boiled eggs a lot. And so those might sit in the fridge a little bit. And then I always have, yogurt and cottage cheese. Everything's like always around, but I don't feel like I need to leave my home with a bunch of packed stuff, probably due to the lifestyle I have and the type of job that I have. I'm not gone for 8 hours. Maybe if I had a manual labor job and I felt I was going to tank, in the middle of the day doing, construction or something like that, I would probably be forced to manage things like differently. But I mainly, if I am going to eat in the morning, I'll eat in the morning, and then I eat when I go home. And those are usually the two times that I get my food in.
Yeah. You over the years, you've built that algorithm in your mind that lets you kind of understand, this is how much I need to eat. When I have this potato, maybe this little bit of fruit, I'm good on my carbs. You're also extremely sensitive to how you feel. So like myself, you can probably feel on a certain day where, you have some extra runs, or let's say you did a hard run the day before and some lifting. You wake up and you're like, I'm going to eat some extra carbs today, right? I do think tracking can be useful for people who maybe they have no experience, because this is the thing, you don't have to track. You can do all of what we mentioned, get healthier through habits, through getting these processed foods out of your house, through like eating so that you actually feel full from the foods you eat. So making the right food choices so your food works for you, making sure to get really good sleep. We didn't really talk about sleep much this episode, but that's super important, because good sleep is going to make sure that you have the right hormonal signals to feel full when you need to feel full. And you don't get the wrong signals of hunger, because when you're underslept, you're going to feel hungrier. So if you're doing these things, great. But some people, it's like if I'm working with somebody, I'll give them the option of, you can use these habits or you can track, because the tracking gives them that extra level of accountability, or being aware of what they're putting in their mouth gives them an extra amount of accountability. Because some people, it's like, man, I'm not losing any weight, this and this and this. And then they didn't realize how much they were snacking on healthy foods, right? Or how much of X food that they were eating. They don't realizing it because they're not paying attention to it. They just think, oh, the rice is healthy. Okay. But they end up eating a lot of it, right? So it's one of those things where I think it can help people build the algorithm you're talking about, because they're super aware and they can be like, wow, this is this many calories. I had this. Where did all these carbs come from today? Well, I had some kefir and I had some fruits, I had some rice. Oh shit! I had that bit of a snack, which was actually like 100 extra carbs, and I didn't realize it. Okay, let me adjust. Whereas if you're just like going by how you feel, you're like, I'm making all these better food choices, but I'm still not losing weight because you're still not fully aware of how much food you're putting down. And tracking isn't something that you need to do forever if you do choose to go down the road of tracking. It's just something that can give you a good understanding of what's in food. And the amount of calories that you might be putting down, so that when you stop tracking, you're a bit more hyper aware of how much you should be eating and what these foods look like.
Do either of you guys like order from restaurants or go to restaurants much anymore?
Sam and I sometimes will like DoorDash sushi, but we don't like eating out. We'll get out, come to us.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, we might go to In-N-Out like once a month now. Like that's been a huge change for us for a couple different things, but almost never.
I think it's a plague, I think, for a lot of people. I think a lot of people eat out or order, food from restaurants, and sushi is probably like the least worrisome thing because it's not cooked in oil. But almost everything at a restaurant, they always call these things seed oils, but I like to refer to them as restaurant oils because that's where you're going to run into them. You're not going to run into them at your own home. Like, maybe there's people that buy canola oil and like cook stuff in canola oil, but why would you ever that just seems gross.
A lot of people do.
Yeah,
a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like $1 for like 8 gallons.
Yeah. It's just,
A lot of people cook their eggs in canola oil. A lot of people use canola oil.
All right, well, I retract
My mom
that
didn't know.
statement.
My mom didn't know when I was younger. She cooked some things in canola oil too. Like she didn't know.
It's part of recipes and stuff a lot of times when you're baking and things like that. So I kind of understand, but you're going to run into a lot more calories at a restaurant most of the time. If you cook up a steak at home and you have a potato and so on, especially if you're using like an air fryer, you're gonna have a steak and a potato and you're gonna have 750 calories. You have that from a restaurant and you could probably it's probably gonna be an extra 500 calories or something like that. If you have it at a restaurant and they put bread and butter on the table, you're going to have even more calories. And if you have salad, you're going to have even more calories. I think we don't realize, that little thing of, Caesar dressing or ranch dressing. Even when you get it on the side, a lot of times people are using almost the whole thing. It's like, hey man, that's like 20 to 30 grams of fat. And you didn't have any nutrition because all you ate was like a bunch of like lettuce basically. So you just had 20 to 30 grams of fat and it's not really moving us forward. I guess it might take up some space in your stomach because there's some vegetables in there. So that may have been helpful. But that's where we get into like a lot of interesting conversations where it's like, hey man, I think it'd be great if you ate your veggies. But then we have to have the conversation of, hold on a second, how are you eating your veggies? Like if you're eating your veggies through a salad and you're a fat guy or a former fat guy, I know how fat guys eat salads. They eat it with tons of ranch dressing on it. So you're going to have to try to swap that out with something. And what are our options to swap it out with? They're not great. Use some apple cider vinegar or use, balsamic vinegar. It's like, you could use some olive oil, I guess, and some vinegar, but you're still going to be putting probably a lot of calories on there. So is a salad worth it when a salad is accompanied by 15 to 20 grams of fat? That could be up for debate. That could be up to you to decide, but I would say fuck no.
I do like speed. And something that I do is, again, some of it is packaged, but Costco has like great packaged mixed vegetables, right? What I'll do is I have 2 air fryers at home. I have an air fryer grill, and then I have a basket one that you can put something on top and you can put something on the bottom, right? So something simple that I love to do is I put fish on the top, fatty salmon, vegetables on the bottom, cook them at the same time. You have the oil from the salmon drip down into the vegetables. It comes out. It's so good. But now, like the vegetables there's not that crazy amount of calories in it, but it has like the bit of the oil from the fish, and it's a great meal. And I'm getting some good veggies in and some fish. And you can do that with a lot of stuff.
Same thing with like stir fry type stuff. It's got, peppers and onions. I'll throw it in a pan. I'll cook the shit out of it for a while. Sometimes I'll throw a little bit of tallow in there, and then I'll throw some beef on there and just cook it all together. And it's amazing. Great way to get some vegetables in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that stir fry package from Costco's is so helpful. Like that's the main way I get a lot of my vegetables in now.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing about like restaurants, like they pull no stops to try to make the food as delicious as possible. And that unfortunately means a ton of extra calories that you just simply don't need. I wanted to quickly just like be like an advocate for tracking the same things that you were saying, right? Like, hey, you don't know what you don't know. And I just think that it's crucial education that people need to obtain because like you said, Mark, they might be dumping in 30 grams of fat and they're like, oh, that's fine.
Oh.
And it's like, it's only 30. It's like, yeah, but times that by 9, that's your calories, right? So I don't track every day, but like maybe once a month, maybe even once every other month, I might just track everything I eat that day because it's about what I ate the day before and the day before that. And I'll just kind of do a quick little inventory check and make sure I'm not full of crap when I talk about like, oh yeah, I ate at least 200 grams of protein. I do that and sure enough, 200, 225 almost every day of protein. And then my calories are, whatever, they kind of sit where they may, but it's usually around 22, 23, 100 for the day. But again, that's not something I do every single day, but I think it's crucial information that people need to do once in a while, or at least just get into the habit of doing it initially. Because I hear the same things too. Like, I don't know, I don't know how to lose weight. I keep trying this, I keep trying that. Like, oh, really? Well, like, how many calories are you eating per day? It's like a loaded question because I know they don't know the answer. But it's like, well, I don't know. Then how do you know if you are eating more or less than than is kind of like that threshold to gain or lose weight?
And
go ahead.
Let me add this in. Yeah. A very cool thing that you mentioned there. Most people aren't variability junkies where they have to have a different meal every single day of the week. Like most people like you and me, and I think like all of us, like I eat a lot of the same shit. I love it, but I eat a lot of the same stuff. And if you know about how many calories are in these same things, right? It kind of gives it like 1 or 2 days of tracking some of that food. Okay, now you know, right? And then if you have something else, but it's not something you have to do every single day. But if you have your staples like you do, Andrew, it's a good idea to understand how much is in those staples, right?
Yeah. It's just overall good awareness.
Yeah.
You think like, yeah, I eat probably enough protein, and then you track it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe I'm not. I went through this whole thing with my wife. I have no idea how this woman was even surviving, right?
Was she having like 60 grams of protein a day?
If that. So I had her track everything, and sorry, hopefully she'll be fine. She was eating like 800 calories per day, like perpetually. Like that's just what she ate. I'm like, now do you see why maybe you're not making progress, whether it be in muscle gain or even fat loss, right? Because your body, I mean, this is a whole nother topic about like starvation mode or whatever. I'm like, you might be actually there because you're not getting nowhere near enough nutrients. Like think about what you're doing to yourself right now. You are trying to run the car as hard as you can with no fuel. So she's on program now and she's been tracking and she's been feeling a lot better. But there's a lot of people just like that. Maybe they're not under eating, but they're just so clueless when it comes to what they're actually like taking in. So that's why I feel like it doesn't have to be forever, but it's really good practice to get into just to see where you stand right now. And then that's what the beauty of it is, you get to go from there. Like, okay, here's where I'm at. I want to see what it's like to drop weight. Let me eat a little bit, whatever it is. And I'm not the biggest, like calories in, calories out is the end all be all. I think quality is more important than that. But again, you don't know unless you actually figure out where you are. Right. So, yeah.
I think there's like I think it's really helpful to learn to eat similar foods. And that's usually what you'll see from people that are in really good shape. People that are in like impeccable shape, you'll see that they eat like literally the same shit all the time, almost all the time. However, that doesn't have to be you. You could still have a lot of variety. It's just that you got to think outside the box a little bit. whenever anybody thinks of carnivore, they just think of like meat, and they just think of like red meat. But there's like, when we say meat, like there's fish meat, there's buffalo meat, there's elk meat. Like there's so many options. There's so many things that you can eat. For myself, I eat a huge variety of foods, but when it comes to maybe like carbohydrates or something like that, it's just like a couple of the same fruits, a couple of the same potatoes, a couple, just like rice. It's usually just like white rice.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's not a lot of variation with that.
Same.
Honey, right? But yeah, the meat, there's a lot of different meats that I eat, and there's a lot of different ways that I eat the meat. I might make a burger. I might like make a patty, right? And then throw cheese on top of it. Or I might just have ground beef. I might have ground beef with, sometimes I'll throw like pork panko in there, and I will throw in a little bit of tomato sauce. So I might have something like that, which is kind of more of an Italian thingy. Or I might take that same ground beef and I might put like buffalo sauce in there, like Red Hot and butter or something like, so there's so many different ways that I might eat all of these same things. So you can still have a lot of variety. But I think one of the problems is most people, they're like, I hear this from a lot of women, especially. It's, I can't eat the same thing every day. Like my husband he eat the same thing every day. And I can't do that. But the problem is, it's like you're talking about a burrito, and then you're talking about pizza, and then you're talking about a bunch of like shitty food that you probably shouldn't be eating anyway. So you can have variety in your diet, but at some point you're going to have to change or swap things out. And I think social media is kind of cool because there's so many different like recipes out there where you can kind of modify your meals, and you can still have some of this stuff. But this is where this plays back into the hands of what you guys are talking about, is like, it still might be useful to track, because if you're making some of your own stuff at home, I mean, you want to start to look at it. I would say probably the biggest mistake that most people make, even though I'm kind of more on the low carb side, most people just eat too much fat. If we can get most people just in general to say, hey, do your best to stay like below 100 grams of fat, unless it's like a bigger athlete that's got a lot of output. Stay under about 100. Don't go below 50, because that's going to like jack everything up. But be under 100. It's like you can kind of start to look at that and start to see what kind of progress you start to make from there. And if you're a smaller person, you might have to lower the fats more. If you're a larger person with more output, you might have to bring them up a little bit.
So, because you were talking about variety, so I just found this video to be pretty damn incredible. Actually, it's Lizzo, of all people, and so it says former vegan, and she's just going through like kind of like a day of what she eats. So egg white cups, cauliflower, hash browns, and fruit. So she's basically eating a low-fat, high-protein diet all of a sudden.
She's going to piss off a lot of vegans.
But she has dropped a good amount of weight.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see this. This is amazing.
This video is actually really funny because she mentions like,
don't know what that is,
how she's on this diet where she's eating meat and she's having all this success.
But okra water.
But she thinks it's healthier to eat vegetables mainly. And it's like, this is dope though.
But yeah, buffalo chicken lettuce wrap.
Everything was kind of shaking on that. That was pretty nice.
Lizzo, come on, girl. I mean, damn.
Yeah, lots of protein.
Damn, Lizzo.
It's cool though. People need to find
Let's go.
a nutrition plan that is
those are some loud titties.
That's going to be screaming delicious for them.
Great.
Like grilled chicken, asparagus, and carrots. But hey, again, she's just having way more protein than what she probably was already having.
But
and then the vegans are like, no, she could have done it too. I'm like, well, but she's doing it now.
And there's fiber in that, in those like asparagus and carrots. This is awesome.
Everything she's eating, she probably really likes it.
Yeah.
And not one of those things was the exact same thing. So she has plenty of variety in her daily meals, right?
Yeah, and if I think about my day, I might, if I have breakfast, I would have I'd have total carnivore in my coffee, and then I'll have some eggs, and then I would eat, some, maybe a steak at dinner. But like it rotates a lot. There's a lot of variety every single day. My wife cooks up a lot of stuff, and so I eat a lot of stuff that she makes, but the primary focus of every meal is always a protein. I think something that people should be aware of is that, and I mentioned this many times in the past, but your percentage of protein is important. So if you want to get really lean and you want to start to get like shredded, start boosting up that percentage more and more and more. And if, as you start to kind of climb the ladder, you get your protein to 30%, 40%. If you can get your protein to 50%, you're going to get very, very lean. You're also going to like run out of energy though. You can potentially feel like shit if you do that for too long, but that's what a lot of the bodybuilders do. That's what a lot of the people that get on stage do. They might have, Bumstead might do, 2,000 calories, or I think he even does less than that. He's like 1,500 calories. But most of what he's eating, as the show gets closer and closer, is primarily just protein and keeping those fats more moderate, which is fucking hard to do. Very hard to do.
I want to read something real quick about this Lizzo thing, because it's very interesting, the pop health type of viewpoint on food. She said, someone suggested I try a Japanese diet because it's one of the healthiest diets in the world and has some of my favorite foods. After tests and research, I found that animal proteins help me have more energy, lose weight, helped with my mental fog. And while her current diet includes animal proteins and products, she shared that she hopes to adjust that one day. I aspire to one day be a raw, alkaline vegan. Until then, this diet has helped me reach my goals and help me feel good in my body. It's so interesting that even though because a lot of people, they find benefit on this, but they still have what is this goal of like wanting to be a vegan? Like, why?
The Japanese aren't raw vegans.
No, they're
Japanese
not.
eat a fuck ton of pork.
But here in the US, it's like a lot of richer people. And again, pop health, it's like, get rid of meat, go vegan. It's one of those things where it's like, real people aren't getting that benefit from this. And she herself, she's getting so much benefit from this. Why do you want to go vegan? The celebrities go vegan, but it's like, why?
I think they might be forced to. The old agenda is telling them to do that. But that's my conspiracy theory ass over here.
That's awesome for her. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, see that's happened.
Meat is where it's at, and then like, you vote with your dollars, and the more that we put our dollars towards things that we think are healthier, I think the better off we'll be. We don't really have to worry as much about everybody else if we continue to put our money towards the things that we believe in and that we think are awesome, because eventually, over time, that will win. Eventually, over time, the healthier stuff will take over the grocery stores. There'll be more and more of that. But if you don't, and you keep falling victim to the cereal and to all the junk food that's around us, you're just showing those companies that there's still a huge market for this in the billions and trillions, perhaps, probably in trillions. And why wouldn't they continue to make it? This message from Catley Means and the brother and sister group that's out there kind of heading up this charge and talking about big food and the highly processed foods and stuff. It's cool. But let's just choke them out. Like let's stop eating these foods, or let's buy way less of them. They went to Congress and, they're trying to have these companies or trying to have Congress step in, try to have the government step in and maybe ban certain ingredients and stuff like that. Cause I guess there's some cereals like Trix or something like that, which might be made a particular way here in the US.
Yeah.
And then that same company makes it a different way for the UK.
And healthier.
And it has less ingredients. Healthier. I think that's cool to kind of bark up that tree, but I think it's cooler to be way more intense than that. And if you really want to hit these motherfuckers, you have to hit them in their wallet. You have to make General Mills and you have to make PepsiCo and you got to make these other people feel it. How much do we want to do that? It's probably too inconvenient, to be honest with you, for us to go all the way through with it, because then you have to figure out all the different other companies that they own. But you could take them out. We could potentially take them out one by one, which who knows? I don't know. Maybe it's too complicated, but maybe we'll do it one day. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.